So, I could be watching What We Do in the Shadows, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Scrubs, something lighthearted and fun. Or I could play this dark, dank game. Guess which one I chose? Welcome back to more Silent Hill. We are now going to explore the school. And the first thing we want to take a look at are these 3 documents here. I think I passed by a teacher's list. So there's one. One of these says something about silver related to silent birds or birds without a tongue. One of them talks about fire bringing the choking heat. The other one is gold in an old man's palm. These are clues to things we're going to have to do in this school. How very cryptic! Apparently, the school was made to resemble the school from the movie Kindergarten Cop, which I never knew. Ah, here we go. Teacher's list. I believe Kay Gordon is listed on there. We never meet him, but he will serve a purpose. Ah, the radio's going off, and I hear some moaning. What's coming? Ah, it's a demon child. Come on, Harry. Kick it! Kick that child! Yeah! Violence towards children! That's what you came here for, right? Right? No. Well, if you like violence towards children, you're probably a bad person. If you like violence towards demon children, I'm not sure on that one. Either way, you're getting violence towards demon children. The symbolism of these demon children is actually kind of interesting. I don't know if this is what they were going for, except I know what the plot of this game is, and I'll talk more about that if I remember later on in the game. But these child-shaped demons with knives, I could easily see where if there's a kid who gets picked on a lot and bullied by their classmates, I could easily see where they would view their classmates as demons of some sort. So that's pretty interesting. I want to say I'm not sure if that's what they were going for. Bullets, cool. But again, I know the story, so I'm not going to talk about that. Those things are kind of interesting. They just squeak. They're harmless. They do really nothing. I'm sure they're meant to symbolize something that I just am not aware of, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Those demon children were taken out of the UK and I believe Japanese versions of this game. Apparently they didn't like the idea of people killing demon children. I don't personally see the issue because I don't really see these as children. I see them as little demons. I say as I just stomp one out. But then again, I'm not really a big fan of federal censorship. I feel like let most everything out there, unless we're talking about certain illegal activities, of course, and let the people decide. Let them vote with their wallets and decide what to and what not to support. But I could be wrong. Now, I think these things would be in poor taste if they made childlike sounds. And I could elaborate more on that, but again, I don't want to get too into the plot of this game yet, even though most people probably know it already, but if this is your first impression of Silent Hill, I don't want to spoil the plot for you. I'd rather talk about that once we get there. Originally, I was going to show off that classroom. There are a number of desks in there. But that didn't happen. Now we got some industrial music in here. Yeah, how very 90s! We need that. In some parts of the school, this industrial music seems a bit excessive, but it's kind of creepy. I approve. As soon as you come out of there, move over to this door because there's going to be another one of these things. But I would agree in censoring these things if they made childlike sounds. That would be in really poor taste. As they are, I don't mind them. And we have this thing, and we use that acid we picked up on it. Look at those amazing graphics! Oh yeah! And we get a gold medallion. Gold in an old man's palm, if you will. More bullets. I'm still kind of debating which packs I should pick up and which ones I don't. I passed by quite a few of them in the school. I get a bit excessive at trying to maximize my bullets. It's really not going to be an issue in this game. Now, if you were playing on a harder difficulty, that might be a different story. I believe in here's another one of those harmless entities. But there's also a med kit, which is the thing we care about. There's another room you can go into which has a demon child. It would just be a pointless fight, so we're not going there. I was informed by a YouTuber, One Doomed Gaming Critic, commented on my first video. He mentioned that even in hard mode, they give you plenty of ammo. So that answered a question I had. Harry's not always the best at using these weapons. I know what they were going for, kind of an everyman. And I understand he's not meant to be a soldier or anything like that, but I do wish they made him a little more capable. From a gameplay perspective, it would make things a lot easier. I was looking back at my original playthrough of this game, and hoo boy, there were some jokes that I made that I would not make now. Not because of the social climate that we're in now, not because they weren't funny, but because my sense of humor has changed. And I don't make those types of jokes anymore. It's a good thing this game was released when it was, because a few months later a certain event happened in Colorado, I believe it was, and I'm pretty sure that would have caused the Demon Children to be censored. There was a nationwide story about a school shooting that sounds like it was pretty brutal. I remember that shit. Those documents I mentioned at the start of this video, they'll give you a clue on the order you need to do these. So we're going to have gold, silver, and then another puzzle we have to do. I hate calling it a puzzle, but that's the best word I can think of. You have to do these in a specific order. So we had to put the gold medallion there before we could go get the silver one. And hope no enemies respawn, because they are dicks. So the next thing we got to do is a fairly interesting puzzle. It's not really complicated when you think about it, but that document did mention birds without a tongue or something like that. We'll see another document about it here in a sec, and it mentions birds without a voice. The only issue I really had with this puzzle is knowing the color of the birds. Aw. Very sad. That is actually kind of significant. A little girl crying in a boy's restroom. Kind of symbolism, I guess, of somebody being an outsider plus somebody being sad. I don't know. It's interesting anyways. But I don't want to focus on that too much because we're still early game. And now we are in the music room. This is where we will get that puzzle I was talking about. As you can see, there's a piano. We'll look at it more in a sec. Here's the clue on how to solve this puzzle, Birds Without a Voice. The big issue I had with this puzzle is a lot of these birds, I didn't know if they were black or white. So there are going to be 5 keys that are silent, and the piano has black and white keys. You have to find the 5 keys that are silent and then click on them in the proper order based on that clue for the puzzle solution. So it's pretty easy once you know what you're doing. But ask me what color a pelican is, I'm not going to know. I know the swans are white, and a crow is black, and a raven is black. Other than that, I don't know birds. I'm not somebody who studies birds. Huzzah, we solved it. And that means we get another medallion. Hooray! I'm actually really surprised the Demon Children weren't censored in the American version. Usually it's the American versions of everything that get censored. Although that's usually things related to sex. Which, thankfully, this game doesn't really have very much of. The other games in the series, that's a little different. Originally, I believe Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 were supposed to be the only games in the series. 3 was supposed to end it. And unfortunately, then they kept going. Originally, 1, 2, and 3 were the only games I was going to do for my channel, but I ended up doing a few more of the other games. But then again, I'm probably going to revisit 2 and 3 as well. If nothing else, because the video quality will be significantly better, even if I play them on my console. Back, demon, back! Nobody likes you! I know what you symbolize. Or at least I think I know what you symbolize. Wait, it's the internet, which means I get an idea in my head and then I just go with it as if it's fact. Right. That's what we're going with. Damn demon children. I avoided coming in here before because I was saving this pack of bullets that's in here. Because it was close to the save room, and I wanted one pack of bullets nearby that I could top off my ammo reserve. And pay special attention to that picture that we looked at. I guess you don't have to if you don't want to, but there is something that will be important about that later. You might want to save your game before doing this. It's going to be a little bit before we get to another save point. However, since I'm playing on emulator, I can use save states. I use save states a lot in this game, especially in the street areas. There's a part I hated both times I played this game to this point, and then I hated it when I recorded the gameplay for this LP. Editing, that is not going to be fun. and I was just showing off the save point there. Definitely go save. Unless you're good at this game, then I guess it really doesn't matter. But stupid things can happen. So now we've opened this up. You can see why I hesitated to call that boiler room a puzzle. Ah, I hear sirens. You remember what happened last time we heard sirens? We died! We'll just have to hope that doesn't happen again. But in this game, you never know.
Where am I? Have I been here before? I don't remember this being here before.
That's because it wasn't, Harry, but otherwise, this area looks just like where we were. It's the courtyard of the school. However, as you'll see in a moment, this is our introduction to what would be called the Otherworld. Although it's never officially called the Otherworld. Harry will call it that later on, but that's about it. There's never really an official naming of it as the Otherworld. I guess you could call it like an altered state of the school. Some people think it's another dimension. I'm not really sure what it is. I've heard several theories. That really stands out in this environment, a bright pink ball. You might be wondering what we're going to use that for. Well, don't worry. In my videos, I may pose questions, or in this case, the game posed the question, but you'll also get answers. I say my videos are like Radio Shack. You have questions, you have answers, but I don't think Radio Shack is a thing anymore. And we get another item there. And there's a giant fan. You can't actually be killed by that. The last time I played this game, I thought that fan was kind of interesting because we see fans throughout this series, in particular in Silent Hill 3, which is the sequel to this game. 2 ended up being its own thing, which added more to the lore of the town than anything else. And it is also a very good game. All 3 Silent Hill games are very good. They definitely have issues, but they're very good. And I passed the door. Damn it! We got some shit's going down music, which I'm a pretty big fan of. So our end goal is to get all the way down to the basement. But everything's locked up, so it's going to take a bit of work to get there. You remember that picture I told you about before? That should look familiar. Trying to navigate my way through those chairs. We don't actually need to go through there. Ah, more demon children. Trying to ruin my day! Harry Mason's already got a child. He don't want no more. He's already past that annoying stage of crying, keeping him up all night, diapers. He's done with that. He don't want no more. Actually, I don't want children. Largely for that reason. Diapers and crying. Oh, especially crying. There's a gate there. These hallways are cut off by a number of gates, which make traversing this area even more annoying. That plays into what I was talking about before, where we gotta make our way to the boiler room, but it's not gonna be that easy. But we should be getting back to the save room. If these demon children would stop trying to make trouble. I seriously can't stand crying. I just don't know how to and don't want to deal with that. I was looking, there's a save room. There we go. Just like in the normal school, the infirmary is our save room. The save point is in a different spot this time. And also, just like in the normal realm, we got a med kit. And we got a health drink. Hooray! And Cheryl is nowhere to be seen. Damn it, kid, you tell us you're in the school and you're not here. As your dad, I'm gonna have to have words with you. I hear another demon, but let's go in here. Monsters! This is kind of a pointless room, unless you're playing on hard mode. I never knew about this for the longest time. The last time I did this game, I thought this was just a pointless room with enemies. But we do get this, one of 3 ampules. An ampule is your strongest healing item in the game. It'll fill you to full health. I get all 3, and I never actually use them. Waste of an item. We're going to have so many items by the time we're done with this game. Silent Hill 1 and 2 are really good about giving you items. 3, not so much. 3's not bad necessarily, but you can't go crazy with the bullets like I'm doing in this one. So we came in here in the normal realm. I'm going to be saving those bullets again for the same reason I saved the ones in this room in the normal realm. But you can imagine what we do here. Use that key we picked up earlier. Booyakasha. Door unlocked. And we are blocked off by a gate, but there are a couple of restrooms we can walk into. This one contains something really nice. Not this. This is unpleasant. I'm looking for it. There it is, our boomstick. That is very nice. That is going to get us through a lot of the game, especially the second half. There's some reading material if you want to take a look at it. I'm not going to bother reading any of that. I did mention in video 1 I am blind, so it's just more of a pain for me to try to do that. I could do it, but it would be really awkward to sit there and listen to me trying to read all that. When I read something, I have to look at one letter at a time. Right, so I wanted to show this off. So you go through that restroom, and it's a teleporter. It teleports you to the next floor. So we can use that to rotate between floors 1 and 2, which is probably one of the stranger decisions made in this game. I'm guessing they wanted to keep you blocked off from certain areas, but couldn't figure out a way to get you from the first to second floor. But even for Silent Hill, that feels like a really weird decision. That's also a very nice room. I will always accept ammo. And I hear more enemies, but we're not going to deal with them right now. Maybe later. But not now. So this area looks kind of burnt up. That's something else to keep in mind. There's another new enemy. I think I might have fought a few of these things earlier, but I can't remember. They're essentially giant cockroaches. And I will stop occasionally to look in these classrooms for items. We don't actually need to go that way because of one of those stupid grates. They want to make sure you come through this room. And you'll see why in a bit. But first, I gotta hunt for bullets. I was reminded of a story, but I'm not gonna have time to talk about it. Pick those up and let's leave.
Daddy, help me. Daddy, where are you?
Cheryl!
Ooh. That doesn't sound like an American dial tone. And that's supposed to be Cheryl, but that does not sound like a kid. Harry doesn't question these things, though. He just keeps going. And I guess if you're a father, that's all you can really do. His love for his kid just kind of keeps him moving, trying to find her as best he can. I'll talk about that more next video as we get some more strange decisions Harry makes. Just trying to find his kid. And I guess, if you're in a helpless situation, that's all you can really do. I'm not a parent. I mentioned earlier I don't ever want to be a parent. I would be a terrible parent. Not out of an unwillingness to try, though. Just I would end up being a terrible parent. So you may have been wondering earlier what we need that pink ball for. We're going to put it in a hole. And I'm not even going to make a joke about putting balls in holes. Or putting anything in a hole. You may be wondering why we're doing that. As you can see, we're going to need to activate something, but the game wants you to check this out first. It's annoying because I like sequence breaking, but if we need to click on something so Harry knows we need to do something, then that's fine, I guess. I mean, if I had a kid, I would care about it. And I would want to do well. It's just, it wouldn't work out so well. Plus, I'm incredibly selfish. That water looks incredibly light and blue for this dark area that we're in. Now, very cartoony looking. Although it is kind of a nice change of pace. So the good news is we got that key unstuck from this drain. The bad news is it was flushed down the drain. So now we gotta go figure out where it is. I think there might be a clue if you explore the area that the key ends up in. But I don't remember. Whenever I play this game, for the most part, I know what to do, so I don't have to go look for those little clues. The only reason I had to click on that drain to show that the key was there in the first place is because the game wouldn't let me turn the valve until I did. It's not like those keys in the first video where I could sequence break things a little bit. That's got to be really irritating for speedrunners. Which I am definitely not. Although I am somebody who does like to get to the point of things. And for our efforts, the game is spawning in more enemies. The good news is now we will be picking up some shotgun shells. We will get a pretty good amount of them in this school. Which is good because we are going to need them. For that boss fight I mentioned last video. The music is getting more intense! I know I've mentioned this game has an awesome soundtrack that I'm just talking over. Then again, my gameplay is not flawless enough to do no commentary runs. At a certain point, I give up. managing my ammo, and I just pick up handgun bullets whenever I find them. Or skip them altogether, depending on how much I'm using the handgun. You're not really going to see me use very many melee weapons in this playthrough. I mentioned the knife is useless. Damn it, bugs! I don't like you! The pipe is also not great. When we came across one of these bugs earlier, they made me think of a story from my college days. The story I was thinking of earlier when we came across one of these things. My second night away at college, I was trying to sleep and I ended up getting a bug in my ear. That was very unpleasant. Being blind and in a new area. This is kind of like a sequel to a scare you could get earlier if you bothered to go by it. I'll clip in a video of it at the end. But I wasn't going to bother because it spawns an enemy. There's nothing there. It's kind of pointless. Oh, jeez. Silent Hill doesn't do too many jump scares. Which makes them a little bit more effective when they happen. Although unlike something like Resident Evil, it's rare when you get a jump scare and there's a monster to deal with. If that even ever happens. I'm not really sure if it does. As much as I love these games, I haven't really played them all that much. Completing this game for this LP was only my third time completing this game. Then again, it's rare when I replay a game, especially these days. So now we're just trying to make our way back to the courtyard. That's where that key from the roof drained out to. I do like that you can adjust the camera, but sometimes it doesn't work. You'll see that a little bit in this video. And I don't know if I'm too close to a wall whenever that happens. Or what. I would say I still prefer this to the fixed camera of Resident Evil. But I don't mind the fixed cameras either. Hooray, more bullets. You know, there's gotta be at least 1 or 2 health and safety code violations going on in this school. I'm not a health and safety expert or anything, but I would assume that there's at least a couple. Thankfully, no enemies spawn here. But if we come over here, you can see some water's drained, and we get the key. I'm not sure if you can click on that earlier and get some sort of a clue that something could be drained out there. That does tend to happen in these games. I would assume there probably is. I just never checked because, except for back in 2001 when I first played this game, I always knew that's where the key drained out to. Something else odd about Cheryl's voice I was going to talk about earlier. I mentioned that she doesn't sound like a child. I have a few more thoughts about that that'll have to wait till later. But I always found that odd that in this game and Resident Evil 2, I'm sure there are other games from the time that had children characters that had obvious adult voice actors. I always found that to be really strange. It's not so bad in this game. It might be a little bit of a spoiler, but we're not really going to see a whole lot of Cheryl in this game. Our goal is to find Cheryl, so it kind of makes sense that we're not going to see much of her. Not sure what that knocking was about. But it was a little bit more annoying in Resident Evil 2. Nothing against the voice actor for Sherry, which is a very similar name to Cheryl. But it definitely felt a little more odd, because Sherry talked a lot more in that game. This is a clue for something later. I don't know what kind of fairy tale this is, or why anybody would want a kid to read that, but then again, if you look at the original versions of a lot of children's stories, some of them are kind of fucked up. You notice there how I clicked on the door that was locked, that I had a key in my inventory, and the game just automatically used it. That's a nice quality of life detail that a fair portion of games of the time had. Resident Evil had that as well. For some reason, we seem to have regressed in game design in that area. I'm thinking of the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, where you get put into a menu and have to cycle through it to use the key in order to unlock the door. And the whole time your character is jiggling the key before you unlock the door. I know it's a very minor thing, but it's a pretty big quality of life improvement. I remember having that issue with Onimusha as well. If memory serves me, those games you had to actually go into the inventory to use the keys, which is really strange because the same company that makes Resident Evil makes Onimusha, so you would have thought that they would have allowed you to automatically use the keys like in Resident Evil. So we come down here. Now we can unlock that gate. I decided to go save proper rather than just using the save state, but I wasn't going to make you watch all of that. I also went back to that teacher's lounge room with the handgun bullets to top up my bullets. So this is an important room. Lots of shotgun shells, which I will need. I am going to use a lot of shotgun shells in this LP. And another ampule, which, if you're playing on a harder difficulty, you're definitely going to want. This place is just looking more and more disturbing. And very unsanitary, too. Good thing there wasn't a global pandemic when this was going on. It'd be even worse. This puzzle can be kind of annoying if you don't know what to do. I just looked up the solution. I wasn't going to waste my time with it. You'll get it eventually if you just keep fiddling with it, but it wasn't worth my time to sit there messing with it. All you're trying to do is move these things out of the way so you can get by. And now, it's time we go to the chamber. The Chamber of Secrets. I'm not sure if that burning thing in the center is supposed to be symbolic of something. This whole school looks burned, which could be symbolic. And we have that giant lizard from that fairy tale. Oh god. I do forget that he usually automatically reloads his gun if you just take a few steps, which is a nice feature. Something Resident Evil doesn't do. Of course, this game also lets you carry all your items, unlike Resident Evil. I love Resident Evil, but having to drop off items in an item box was never my favorite aspect of those games. Come on, you giant lizard, take your medicine! Damn it, stop changing your pattern. We had a good thing going. You go one way, I go the other and shoot you. It worked. Once that music gets intense, arm the shotgun. That's right, you take it! Take it! And we get sirens again. And something else died. Thankfully, this time it was not Harry. Wonder who that could be.
What was that? Who in the hell was that?
That's your question? I'm not going to say it's not a valid question, but what about wondering why alternate realities are happening? Or why your daughter is calling you while you're in an alternate reality by a phone that you happen to be by? Or why you're looking for your daughter but somehow she knows where you are? You're not going to ask these questions. Just who the hell was that? Good job, Harry. Good job. But as I said before, he doesn't really question these things too much. And I believe that's the K. Gordon key. I mentioned him at the start of this video. There's one more thing related to him that I'll talk about next video. As you can see, it's daylight again. I really wish we got to walk around this school in the foggy realm. It's a lot easier to see and a little bit nicer to look at. I also like the idea of an area you can imagine walking around in, a school, being turned into essentially hell. Or some other horror type setting. I think that's a pretty cool idea. I prefer those areas in these games where they're hellish recreations of areas you can imagine walking around in. So I'm going to go ahead and hit up the save point. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Save that game, and I will see y'all next time with more Silent Hill.